There's a truth about Jesus that most people never dare to explore. Jesus did not come to be remembered, he came to be realized. The power of his life does not lie in the stories repeated about him, but in the energy he carried. An energy that still surrounds you, moves within you, and calls you to awaken. Jesus is not a distant historical figure locked in the pages of ancient text. He is consciousness, presence, awareness, a living frequency of unconditional love and divine intelligence. And the greatest misunderstanding humanity ever embraced was reducing him to a figure to worship instead of a nature to embody. When you strip away the layers of religion, culture, and tradition, you discover a deeper Jesus, a Jesus who came not to elevate himself, but to elevate your understanding of who you truly are. Jesus walked the earth not to prove his uniqueness, but to reflect your potential. Every miracle he performed was not to impress the world, but to remind it this is what alignment with God looks like. He healed because healing is the natural expression of a consciousness unclouded by fear. He loved without boundaries because love is the nature of the soul when ego dissolves. He forgave endlessly because forgiveness is the key that unlocks divine power. Jesus showed us what becomes possible when a human being remembers their spiritual origin. He lived as a demonstration of what happens when you rise above the illusions of separation and rest in the truth that God is not somewhere above you, but within you. When you think of Jesus, remove the distance, remove the pedestal. Imagine a consciousness that transcended limitations because it recognized no separation from its source. This is who he was. Not merely a teacher, not merely a prophet, not merely a miracle worker, but the embodiment of pure awareness moving through human form. He was the bridge between the divine and the physical, not because he was the only one capable of it, but because every human being is designed to live with this same connection. Jesus never asked to be worshipped, he asked to be followed, not in ritual, but in awakening. His entire life was an invitation for you to step into a higher state of being, to love where you usually judge, to forgive where you normally resist, to believe where you typically doubt, to trust where you often fear. Jesus came to awaken the divine identity hidden beneath layers of conditioning, trauma, and false beliefs. His message was simple, yet revolutionary. You are not separate from God. You never were. And the moment you understand this, the moment you feel it in your bones, you begin to see Jesus not as a figure above you, but as a mirror reflecting the divinity within you. This is why Jesus is not limited by history. You don't need to travel back in time to meet him. You need only to awaken to the dimension of consciousness he lived in. He did not come to show us what he could do. He came to show us what we are capable of when we align our mind with the source of all creation. Jesus is not an observer of your life. He is the inner flame urging you to rise. He is not a distant memory. He is a living presence reminding you of your origin. Understanding Jesus in this way changes everything. It shifts him from a distant figure to a living experience. It transforms your spiritual life from worship to awakening. And in this awakening, you discover the truth. Jesus is not out there. He is here, within your awareness, guiding you into the highest expression of who you are meant to be. Imagine the shock, the disruption, the spiritual earthquake Jesus created when he declared a message the world had never heard so clearly: God is not outside of you. For generations, people had been taught to search upward, outward, into rituals, temples, and traditions. But Jesus shattered that paradigm with one revolutionary truth. The kingdom of God is within you, inside your breath, inside your thoughts, inside your consciousness. He pointed humanity away from the sky and back into its own soul. This was not a poetic metaphor or a comforting philosophy. It was the core truth of existence that, once understood, has the power to liberate any human being from fear, guilt, shame, and spiritual emptiness. Most people never fully absorb what Jesus meant. They continue to pray as if God is far away. They continue to search for miracles as if divine power must be requested rather than awakened. They continue to see themselves as flawed, unworthy, incomplete. But Jesus spoke to the very heart of human identity, saying, "You are connected, you are divine. You are one with the source of all creation." He wanted humanity to understand that the same energy that formed stars, oceans, mountains, and galaxies flows through every fiber of your being. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he was not claiming exclusivity. He was demonstrating unity. He was showing humanity what it looks like when a person awakens to their divine origin. But fear-based minds misinterpreted his message. Instead of seeing his words as an invitation, they turned them into separation. Instead of understanding, "I and the Father are one, and so are you," they created a distance that he never intended. The true message was empowerment, not dependency. Jesus wanted every person to know that God is not an external authority judging you. God is the consciousness that breathes you, guides you, inspires you, and lives within you. You don't have to earn God's presence. You already carry it. You don't have to prove your worth. You were born with it. You don't have to search for God. You have to awaken to the divine presence that has always been inside you. The tragedy is not that people fail to believe in Jesus. The tragedy is that they fail to believe in what Jesus believed about humanity. When you internalize this truth, your entire life changes. Fear loses its grip because you realize you are plugged into an infinite source. Shame dissolves because you understand that nothing can separate you from divine love. Self-doubt weakens because you recognize that your potential is not limited by your past. It is fueled by the divine spark within you. Jesus wanted you to understand that you are not a small, powerless being trying to survive life. You are a spiritual being temporarily experiencing a human journey. The moment you embrace God within, you stop begging for miracles and start becoming one. You stop asking for strength, start awakening the strength already inside you. You stop searching for purpose and start expressing the divine intention placed in your soul. This was the message Jesus gave. Not a religion, not a fear-based system, not a distant God, but a profound truth. You are connected to the source of all that is. God lives within you, breathes within you, and expresses through you. Jesus came to remove the veil between humanity and divinity. He came to show you that separation is an illusion. He came to reveal the truth that the divine lives in your heart, your mind, and your consciousness. And when you finally accept that God is within you, you step into the same power, the same awareness, and the same light that Jesus embodied. You begin to live from your soul rather than your ego. You begin to walk in strength instead of fear. You begin to express love instead of judgment. This is the transformation he offered. A transformation that begins the moment you awaken to the truth that God has been within you all along. The true power of Jesus was not found in his miracles, but in his inner state. He did not walk on water to impress the world. He did not heal the sick to gain followers. He did not calm storms to display supernatural abilities. Every act, every teaching, every moment of his life was an expression of inner mastery, a mastery accessible to anyone who chooses to align with their higher nature. Jesus was the living demonstration of what becomes possible when the mind is anchored in peace, the heart rooted in love, and the soul aligned with divine intention. He didn't come to show us how great he was. He came to show us who we could become. People often look at his miracles as separate from themselves, as if these events were reserved for someone uniquely chosen. But Jesus repeatedly emphasized that his power was not the result of special privilege. It was the result of inner transformation. He understood the laws of the mind, the laws of spirit, the laws of intention. He knew that the external world rearranges itself around the clarity of a person who is fully aligned with God. When he healed, he wasn't defying nature. He was working with a higher understanding of it. When he forgave, he wasn't being passive. He was dissolving the chains that keep most people trapped in emotional prisons. When he showed compassion, he wasn't acting kindly out of obligation. He was revealing what happens when the ego no longer dominates the heart. Jesus operated from a consciousness far above fear, scarcity, guilt, and judgment, the very states that keep humanity limited. His transformation didn't come from gaining divine power. It came from recognizing the divine power already within. And he wanted every person to know that transformation begins not with changing the world, but with changing the self. He taught that the battles you fight are not outside. They are inside your thoughts, inside your beliefs, inside the stories you accept about yourself. When you master your inner state, you master your life. Jesus embodied this truth with such clarity that the world could not ignore him. People were drawn to him because he radiated peace in a world filled with chaos. They were captivated because he embodied certainty in a world dominated by fear. They were transformed because he offered something deeper than doctrine. He offered presence. His presence healed, his presence uplifted, his presence awakened. And the greatest realization is this: that same presence is available to you when you elevate your consciousness. Jesus never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to awaken, to rise above the illusions that keep you small and step into the truth of who you really are. Transformation, according to Jesus, is an inside-out process. He didn't say, change the world and then you will find peace. He said, change your inner world and peace will follow. He didn't say, fix others. He said, look within. He didn't say, fear God. He said, love God, because God is love. Jesus challenged humanity not to conform, but to transform. Not to imitate him externally, but to elevate internally. And when you understand this, you realize that his life was a map leading you from confusion to clarity, from fear to faith, from limitation to infinite possibility. The true message of Jesus is simple, yet profound. Inner transformation creates outer miracles. When you forgive, your heart heals. When you release judgment, your mind becomes free. When you choose love, your life expands. When you align with the divine within you, you step into a realm where your thoughts carry power, your intentions shape reality, and your presence becomes a blessing to the world. Jesus did not show us the impossible. He showed us what becomes possible when you truly awaken. If there is one message Jesus repeated again and again, in countless ways, it is this: your belief shapes your reality. It is done unto you as you believe. These words hold the key to understanding the power of the mind, the mystery of the spirit, and the creative force behind every miracle that ever took place. Jesus understood something that modern society still struggles to grasp, that every experience begins in consciousness. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is creation. Your beliefs are not passive ideas, they are the blueprint of your life. Jesus demonstrated that the mind aligned with divine intention becomes a channel through which the impossible becomes possible. He constantly redirected people away from doubt and fear toward faith and inner vision. Faith for Jesus was not blind optimism, it was a deep knowing, a certainty that what you align with internally must manifest externally. When he said all things are possible to those who believe, he wasn't offering inspiration. He was stating a universal law. He knew that belief is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. He knew that imagination is the first stage of creation. He knew that your inner world is the architect of your outer world. And he wanted every person to understand that the power that moved through him is the same power that moves through you. Jesus never taught people to look at their circumstances as final. He taught them to look beyond appearances, beyond limitations, beyond what the senses report. He encouraged people to see with the eyes of the soul rather than the eyes of the body. When someone was sick, he didn't see disease, he saw wholeness. When someone was broken, he didn't see weakness, he saw potential. When someone was lost, he didn't see failure, he saw transformation waiting to happen. Jesus trained people to shift their inner vision before expecting outer change. He understood that you cannot experience a life you do not first believe is possible. Many people pray for change, but continue to imagine lack, fear, and failure. Jesus knew this contradiction blocks divine power. He taught that you cannot carry doubt in your heart and expect miracles in your life. You cannot imagine darkness and expect light. You cannot believe in limitation and expect abundance. Your belief must align with your intention. Your imagination must align with divine possibility. This is why he asked people before healing them, do you believe? Because belief is the activation of spiritual law. It is the opening through which divine power flows. Your imagination is not insignificant. It is sacred. It is the realm where you co-create with the divine. Every great change, every new beginning, every transformation starts with inner vision. Jesus wanted you to understand that you are never powerless. Your thoughts are seeds. Your beliefs are commands. Your imagination is the womb of creation. When you align your inner world with love, faith, and higher intention, you step into the same creative power that Jesus expressed with such effortless clarity. The truth he taught is timeless. You attract what you believe, you manifest what you imagine, and you experience what you align with. The power is already within you. It has always been within you. Jesus didn't come to give you power. He came to remind you of the power you already possess. And when you begin to use your belief and imagination consciously, intentionally, and with spiritual understanding, your life shifts. Doors open, healing begins, miracles unfold. Not because you are lucky, but because you are aligned. There is a level of consciousness that Jesus lived from, a state of awareness so clear, so elevated, so deeply rooted in truth that it transformed everything he touched. This state is often called the Christ mind. It is not a title, not a religious label, not an identity reserved for one person. It is a state of being available to anyone who chooses to rise beyond ego and awaken to the divine intelligence within. Living from the Christ mind means seeing the world not through fear, judgment, or limitation, but through love, clarity, and spiritual understanding. Jesus didn't come to show us a miracle-working identity. He came to reveal a higher way of thinking, perceiving, and living. The Christ mind is the awareness that your true nature is spiritual, not physical. It is the realization that you are connected, guided, and held by an intelligence that transcends human comprehension. When Jesus looked at people, he didn't see what the world saw. He didn't see sinners or saints, rich or poor, righteous or flawed. He saw divine beings temporarily lost in human confusion. He saw the soul beneath the surface. He saw the light behind the struggle. He saw the potential hidden beneath fear. Living from the Christ mind means adopting that same vision, choosing to see the divine possibility in every situation, every person, and every part of yourself. The ego sees separation, but the Christ mind sees unity. The ego reacts, but the Christ mind responds. The ego clings to fear, but the Christ mind rests in truth. When you shift into this higher awareness, you begin to experience life differently. Problems that once overwhelmed you no longer shake you. Situations that once triggered you lose their power. Challenges that once felt impossible suddenly reveal deeper meaning and opportunities. The Christ mind is not a place of perfection. It is a place of alignment. It's when your thoughts, intentions, and actions reflect the awareness that divine intelligence is moving through you. Jesus lived from this awareness effortlessly. That is why he spoke with confidence. That is why he acted with compassion. That is why he was unshaken by criticism, betrayal, or adversity. When you know you are aligned with the source, fear has no hold on you. When you recognize the divine in yourself and others, judgment dissolves. When you live from spiritual awareness rather than human conditioning, your life aligns with a higher flow. You begin to experience moments of peace that surpass understanding. Insights come with clarity. Decisions come with ease. Purpose becomes natural. The Christ mind is not achieved through force or struggle. It awakens when you surrender ego, when you let go of the need to control, the need to be right, the need to fight the world. It arises when you choose love over fear, forgiveness over bitterness, compassion over anger. Jesus showed us that true power is not domination, but alignment. Real authority is not control, but surrender to divine guidance. Living from the Christ mind means allowing your inner light to guide your outer life. And this is the astonishing truth. The same awareness Jesus lived from is already within you. You are not trying to become something new, you are remembering something eternal. The Christ mind is the part of you that knows you are connected to God. It is the part of you that sees with clarity, loves without condition, and trusts without fear. When you awaken this awareness, you begin to live not as a limited being, but as a vessel of divine expression. Your life becomes a reflection of truth rather than fear. This is what Jesus offered, not a religion, but a way of consciousness that elevates everything it touches. From the moment Jesus began his teachings, one thing became clear. His message was not meant to be admired, it was meant to be activated. He didn't simply shine, he called others to shine. He didn't just carry the light, he reminded humanity that the same light exists within every soul. When he said, "You are the light of the world," he wasn't giving a poetic compliment. He was delivering a spiritual assignment. Darkness is not defeated by force, it is dissolved by light. And every person carries a flame capable of illuminating the world, not by perfection, but by presence. Becoming a light in the world doesn't mean living without flaws. It means choosing love even when fear is easier. It means choosing compassion even when judgment feels justified. It means choosing forgiveness even when your mind argues otherwise. Jesus showed that a single act of love carries more power than 1,000 arguments. A single moment of presence can shift an entire situation. A single heart awakened to truth can inspire countless others. Light spreads effortlessly, not through effort, but through authenticity. The brighter your consciousness becomes, the more your environment transforms. Jesus invited humanity into a radical way of living, a way where your presence uplifts others without trying, where your actions radiate intention, where your life becomes a silent message of divine love. Being a light doesn't require a platform, a title, or recognition. It requires alignment. When your heart is open, when your mind is clear, when your soul is awake, people feel it. They may not understand why, but they will be drawn to you. The light within you becomes a mirror that awakens the light within them. To be a light means refusing to let the world dim your spirit. Jesus faced betrayal, mockery, rejection, and pain, yet his inner light never wavered. Why? Because his identity wasn't rooted in circumstances. His strength didn't come from approval. His purpose wasn't dependent on outcomes. His light came from within, from the divine presence that cannot be shaken by the storms of life. This is the same presence within you. When you live connected to it, nothing from the outside can extinguish it. The invitation Jesus offered is not about following rules. It is about awakening your soul. It is an invitation to rise above the limitations of human consciousness and step into the unlimited potential of spiritual awareness. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more clarity. It doesn't need more judgment. It needs more compassion. It doesn't need more division. It needs more light. You carry that light, you always have. The more you awaken to it, the more your life becomes a beacon of hope, peace, and love for others. Becoming a light in the world means aligning your life with truth, purpose, and intention. It means living from the awareness that your presence matters. Your words matter. Your energy matters. Every act of kindness, every moment of patience, every expression of love creates ripples that extend farther than you can imagine. Jesus called humanity not to admire his light, but to ignite their own. He came not to create followers, but to awaken leaders. Leaders of compassion, leaders of truth, leaders of spiritual awareness. The invitation is still open. It always will be. Step into the light that lives within you. Let it guide your decisions, shape your actions, and define your purpose. When you choose to live from this place, you don't just change your life. You become a source of transformation for the world around you. That is the legacy Jesus offered. Not a doctrine to memorize, but a light to embody. And when you embrace this light fully, you become the living expression of the divine intention that sent you here.